I never thought my marriage would turn into such a mess. After 16 years together, with our 2 kids, a 13-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son, I thought I knew what to expect from life. That changed last summer when my wife dropped a bomb on our relationship. "I want to see other people," she said one evening after the kids went to bed. "I think we should have an open marriage." I was stunned. We'd been high school sweethearts. She'd never been with anyone else, while I'd had a few relationships before we got together. When I expressed my discomfort with the idea, she didn't back down. "Either we open up our marriage, or I'm filing for divorce," she stated firmly. "I need to experience more in life. I loved our family too much to let it fall apart." After a lot of thinking, I reluctantly agreed, but set some ground rules. No bringing people to our house, no telling the kids or family, mandatory health checks, and we couldn't date people we both knew. She agreed to everything without hesitation. My suspicions about her having someone specific in mind were confirmed when she went out the very next night and didn't come back until early morning. It hurt, but I tried to focus on saving our marriage. 4 months, I didn't pursue anyone else. Then I met someone through my daughter's school orchestra program. Let's call her Sophie. She was divorced, straightforward about not wanting anything serious, and we connected well. After getting to know each other for a while, we started seeing each other casually. At first, it felt wrong, but gradually I became more comfortable with the arrangement. Surprisingly, this new setup seemed to improve things at home. My wife and I were getting along better, and our relationship felt more passionate. I thought we found a strange but workable balance. Then came the changes. My wife's partner disappeared from the picture during the pandemic. She said his situation had gotten complicated. Around the same time, she suddenly showed interest in getting involved with the school orchestra parents committee, something she'd never cared about before. That's when things started falling apart. She met Sophie at a virtual concert we organized for the kids, and within days, she demanded I end things with her. According to my wife, since we now both knew Sophie, it violated our rules. I disagreed. We hadn't known her before, and the meeting was coincidental. For weeks, she kept insisting I end things with Sophie. Then she changed tactics completely. She wanted to close our marriage again. I was open to the idea but had 2 conditions. It would stay closed permanently, and she'd sign an agreement waiving spousal support if we ever divorced. She completely lost it at the second condition. "You just want to keep seeing her and then leave me with nothing," she accused. I tried explaining that I wanted security, no more threats of divorce if she decided to open the marriage again later. I even offered to add conditions that would void the agreement in certain situations, like if I was unfaithful. But she wouldn't discuss it. "If you don't end it with her, our marriage is over," she declared. That's when I started really paying attention to things that hadn't added up. Something about Sophie's reaction when I mentioned my wife's concerns made me suspicious. She seemed genuinely confused about how my wife knew about us, insisting she hadn't told anyone. That's when I decided to do some digging. What I found made my blood run cold. Looking through my wife's location history on her phone, I discovered she'd been tracking me. She'd followed me to Sophie's house back in April, and then deliberately inserted herself into the orchestra parents group just to create a situation where she could meet Sophie. She hadn't suddenly developed an interest in our daughter's activities. She'd been stalking me. When I confronted her with this evidence, she first tried to turn it around on me, accusing me of invading her privacy by checking her location history. When that didn't work, she finally admitted the truth. She said she couldn't stand that I had someone while she didn't, and that having my partner be another parent from school felt too close to home. I offered a compromise. I'd end things with Sophie if she agreed to 3 things: marriage counseling, permanently closing our marriage, and looking for a job once the pandemic settled down. She hadn't worked since we got married, and I felt it was time for her to contribute financially. She resisted the job part, insisting her role as a stay-at-home mom was enough. But eventually, she agreed to counseling, and we started sessions the following week. At first, the counseling seemed helpful. The therapist got her to open up about following me and question her reasons for wanting an open marriage in the first place. That's when the real truth came out. Her other partner hadn't been some random person. It was her high school ex-boyfriend, someone she dated before me. Even worse, he was married, and his wife had no idea about their arrangement. She admitted she'd always regretted not sleeping with him in high school and wanted to finish what they started. I was furious. She'd accused me of crossing a line by seeing someone from school, while she'd been sleeping with her married ex. I couldn't even look at her. I checked into a hotel for a few days, needing space to think and cool down before I said or did something I'd regret in front of our kids. When I returned home, I noticed my daughter was acting strange, more than usual for a teenager. She was cold, distant, and clearly angry with me. When I finally got her to tell me what was wrong, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. She accused me of cheating on her mom with some orchestra mom and staying at her house while I was away. I kept my composure, showed her my hotel receipt, and assured her I'd never do that to our family. She broke down crying. I did my best to comfort her while hiding how devastated I was inside. My own wife had tried to turn our daughter against me by lying about where I was. After comforting our daughter, I made a decision. I found the ex-boyfriend's wife on social media and sent her a message. I explained everything about the year-and-a-half affair and offered to provide any evidence she needed. She replied quickly, thanking me and saying she'd suspected something but hadn't been able to prove it. My wife exploded when she found out. She came at me screaming about breaking the confidentiality of our therapy sessions and ruining her ex's life. When I brought up how she lied to our daughter about me having a girlfriend, she completely denied it. Even now, she maintains she only told our daughter I was away for a few days. That was last week. We haven't spoken since, except for necessary things about the kids. We're supposed to have another counseling session tomorrow, but I'm not sure there's any point. Every time I think I've uncovered all her lies, I find more. The trust is completely gone. The thought of calling a divorce lawyer makes me physically sick. I keep putting it off, even though I know it's what I need to do. Part of me feels like a complete failure. I come from a family where marriage means something. My parents have been together for 40 years. My grandparents were married for 60. I never wanted to be someone who got divorced. But I also know this isn't my fault. She's the one who threatened divorce if I didn't agree to an open marriage. She's the one who already had someone lined up, her married ex-boyfriend, no less. She's the one who stalked me when I finally found someone. She's the one who tried to turn our daughter against me with lies. The hardest part is knowing how this will affect our kids. Our son is still too young to understand what's happening, but our daughter is already caught in the middle. I hate that she had to learn about adult relationships this way. I worry about what other lies my wife might tell them. I've started gathering documents and looking at my finances. I know I need to protect myself, especially since my wife hasn't worked in 16 years and will likely want substantial support. But every time I think about actually filing the papers, I remember our wedding day, the birth of our kids, all the good years we had. I remember the woman I married, but I don't recognize who she's become. Yesterday, my daughter asked me if we were getting divorced. I couldn't lie to her. I told her that her mom and I are having serious problems, and while I don't know what's going to happen, I promised her that both her parents love her and her brother more than anything. She hugged me and said she just wants everyone to stop lying. That's when I knew what I had to do. I've made an appointment with a lawyer for next week. I can't keep living in this twisted version of a marriage where trust means nothing. My wife isn't the person I married anymore, and maybe she never was. Our kids deserve better than to grow up in a house full of lies and manipulation. Sometimes saving your family means knowing when to let go. I don't know what the future holds, but I know it has to be better than this endless cycle of lies, stalking, and emotional manipulation. I might have failed at marriage, but I won't fail at being honest with my children or with myself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.